The update. Things are now going to start dramatically changing, and honestly, this AI creator really needs to get a lawyer. We're hearing literally plagiarism, arguably copyright infringement. But it's not just you. Lying about who they are, infringing other artists, so you're not kicking them off of your platform. Why is that? There's some wild business going on in the music industry right now, and I'm pretty sure the Velvet Sundown may have just committed blatant copyright infringement. Now look, let me give you some context here. I was working on an update segment because we've been covering all the AI artists and bands and infringement that's been happening on Spotify. And one of the newest updates that's happening is that we have AI artists that are pretending to be deceased famous artists uploading music. So I was just doing some research on this, and kind of in line with the ethics and being honest and all the problems that have happened because of the Velvet Sundown. Specifically, I went back to their profile today and everything changed. To recap, Velvet Sundown made a splash and they were receiving something like hundreds of thousands of streams on Spotify, so got a lot of attention. And my initial, this is weird, is I went to the bio. The bio for the band said they were a real band, real humans, and they talked about names and who played what instruments and whatever. And then eventually there was so much heat, they came out and they're like, oh no, we're a real band. The creator was not being truthful and doubling down and saying, no, we make real human-made music, blah, 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 and eventually was exposed. That's not the case. And in fact, this is AI music. My big issue with this is that because I fight with Spotify all the time for real artists, independent artists who are getting deleted from these platforms, their music's taken down, all these problems because they're like, you violated our Spotify terms of use. I go, what about these AI artists? If they're violating the terms of your service agreement by lying about who they are, infringing other artists, all these things, and you're not kicking them off of your platform, why is that? So anyway, we did this whole thing. Spotify even responded to us. That's the last video that we released. The update. I went to the Velvet Sundown profile and I saw that they, the creator of this AI act, had released a new album, and the album is Stop. And there's two things that hugely jumped out at me in regards to this album. One, there's an artist, Hope, that is a collaborator on every single one of these songs. We're going to talk about Hope in a second. But two, the titles of the majority of the songs are, and you'll see here, we see news article 1, 2, 3, all the way through 8. And so in the very beginning, there is a track called Statement. Now, I'll play that here in a second. And essentially, the statement is, if we make any money, we're going to contribute it to fund human-made authors. So let's listen to that real quick.
Yes, I know. The song was also made with Key, unfortunately. I'm not a musician, so I had to fall back on it for once to make a statement as quickly as possible. In the unlikely event that I make a few quid from the song, it will all be donated to organizations that support up-and-coming musicians. Real musicians, of course.
All right, so that was the opening statement, right? Addressing sort of, I don't know who you're going to donate to exactly. We would love to hear that. But in any case, this is shocking to me because with the articles, please listen to the first one, and I'm going to tell you why this matters.
AI-generated music is going viral. Should the music industry be worried? An article by Dylan Butts, CNBC. With more than 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, psychedelic rock band, the Velvet Sundown is raking in thousands of dollars and has the music industry asking itself tough questions. Hit.
So I hear the beginning, I go, you're saying there's an author, you're citing to a very popular news outlet. And so I did a little Google search. Lo and behold, this is a real article and a real author, Dylan Butts, who published this on behalf of CNBC. And the lyrics that we're hearing are literally plagiarism from this article. So let's go back to it. So in the beginning, it goes, AI generated music is going viral. Should the music industry be worried? All right, in that first sentence, with more than 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify. So back to the track.
With more than 1 million monthly listeners on Spotify, psychedelic rock band, the Velvet Sundown is raking in thousands of dollars.
All right, so I went through the article and I split this up. And so basically what the AI creator has done is that he's taken this article. Now here's the caveat here. Maybe he did it. Maybe he has a deal with CNBC and they said, cool, use it. And again, because we're using someone's name, their likeness, so in this case, Dylan. Dylan also gave permission to use his name in a song. All of these things, if they were not authorized, could be alleged as copyright infringement. You plagiarized. something that did not belong to you to make something of commercial value that you are now streaming and selling for your own benefit, and not just you. There's now this other artist, Hope, we're going to talk about. But I went through and it literally is this article verbatim, almost, very importantly, almost all the way through. And so when we see here, right, Article 1, it's a run-on song. So it just kind of cuts off. So I'm going to show you at the very end here.
Generative artificial
and it's going to go right into the next one.
It's synthetic music project guided by human created direction and composed, voiced, and visualized with the support.
All right, so you heard it just kind of went in, and this was from the article. So it goes, the Velvet Sundown's bio on Spotify now clarifies that it's a synthetic music project guided by human creative direction and composed, voiced, and visualized with the support of artificial intelligence. Okay, so it just goes through and it breaks up into Article 3, Article 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now they get through 8. They left off a few sections at the very end of this article, but they've just taken the lyrics, the words from this article, made it into the lyrics of this album. So here's where things are now going to start dramatically changing, and why, honestly, this AI creator really needs to get a lawyer. So that, first and foremost, by coming out and putting your music on Spotify in violation of Spotify's terms of service, there is a lot of exposure. Now, whether Spotify did the right thing or did enough, we don't know. Because what we do know is that this profile eventually updated the bio. So now the bio admits that this is an AI kind of thing. And my speculation on this is I go, well, if Spotify caught wind because there was so much publicity around this and put pressure on the Velvet Sundown creator to be honest, I just go, again, why didn't you delete the profile? Why didn't you act in accordance with what you normally do when someone violates your terms of use? That's an outstanding question. We don't know. But either way, they did update the bio. Now, this is different though. So we go, if you're going to impersonate real people and you're going to get consumers to potentially do things, that's consumer fraud, maybe. So these are potential claims that if I was the attorney for an AI artist who is doing these things, I'd have a conversation about it. If something like this popped up, if you don't have a license, you didn't get permission, this is arguably copyright infringement. And so you have a copyright infringement issue, but it's not just you, the Velvet Sundown. Let's go back to Hope. So I was looking at Hope. I guess let's go on over. The artist Hope has a little shy of 30,000 monthly listeners. And as I was kind of listening through, I was like, all right, so all of the releases seem to be relatively recent in the last couple of years. So I kind of did some investigating to try to figure out whether this is actually a real artist. Is this another AI artist? And this is what I found. On Instagram, I found this for Hope. I believe this is his Instagram with 163,000 followers. And then also this music video, he has 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I think that this is a real non-AI artist. And so I would be very curious for why this person, this creator, signed on to this project. And then also just kind of cinematically, it was kind of weird because it was like this dubstep Prodigy-esque thing happening on a couple of those initial tracks. So how this is going to impact this other artist has yet to be seen, because all of these issues that I have identified, seems to be a joint author on these songs, on this album. Now, once CNBC gets wind of this, once Dylan Butts gets wind of this, I'm curious to see what they do, because there's a whole slew of things that could come down the pipeline, from a lawsuit to a demand letter to all kinds of things. Now, one of the last things I wanted to point out, because I just found this to be curious, which had to do with the copyright information on this, because on the listing, it's like who's distributed the record. And this is what it says. It goes 2025, there is Hope against AI. So typically, if you're distributing your music through a distributor, they're like, who's distributing it? So you type in who the distributor is, right? So who's your label? Are you a publishing company? Whatever it is. And so I'm like, why would you put there is Hope against AI? Now, look, on the flip side is I'm just trying to kind of research a little bit more about this Hope creator. I'm like, I don't know. Is Hope the actual creator of this Velvet Sundown? Now, the other piece of this that, again, I was going to do a topic on it, which is AI artists are impersonating and pretending to be actual famous artists that are deceased. And they are creating AI tracks and they are distributing them. And so that has been a whole separate thing. But I'll save that for another video. What do you guys think? Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.